Hey guys, this is the Orange Bandit, and welcome to the Gladiator. The Gladiator is mounted of a man thanks to his Nord genes, and is a fierce fighter with no mercy for those lawless bandits and blue cloak stormcloak rebels. The Gladiator is a Nord, which gives him the benefits of plus 10 for two-handed weapons, plus 5 for block, one-handed weapons, smithing, light armor, and speech. He has a 50% resistance to frost, an ability called Battle Cry, which makes all targets nearby flee for 30 seconds and is usable once per day. Early game, you should most likely use the Warrior Stone for a bonus to all warrior skills. Though later in the game, you should mostly use the Atronach Stone, which fortifies Magicka by 50 points and grants 50% spell absorption. It also causes Magicka regeneration decreased by 50%, and since the Gladiator doesn't use Magicka or spells, this won't affect us. The Gladiator grew up in the Imperial City in Cyrodiil, was brought up in a dysfunctional family. His father was an avid drinker and frequently would return at night, only to come back later in the afternoon the next day, most likely sleeping off a massive hangover. But his mother and father, usually prominent people in the city, though eventually a large portion of their wealth was taken from them by abandoned highwaymen as they were making their way across Cyrodiil for a trip. They didn't need to beg in the streets, for they weren't the richest in the Imperial City. His mother had wanted him to become a scholar and hired many tutors. Granted, they weren't the best and they didn't have much money to spend. Even with his mother's constant attempts to educate the Gladiator, he found reading literature and memorizing history to be a boring endeavor. He instead enjoyed to spend most of his time training and getting into small mock worlds with other children in the city. His young adult years seemed to pass by in a blur, until eventually when he's around the age of 15, he overheard two gentlemen talking about an underground fight club in the sewers that night. He began to think that this might be his chance to make some money for himself and family. He waited until nightfall, and he would then venture into the sewers. His body was shocked by the cold of the icy water as he crept into the sewers. As he neared the club, the sound of cheering and fist-hitting faces grew. He eventually made it into a circular dome that housed a ring and many tall spectators shaking satchels, which he could only presume were filled with gold. In the middle of the ring were two shirtless men brawling. As he began to walk in, a tall, buff man asked him why he was here. After saying he wanted to participate in the fight, he was immediately put on the roster. His first opponent was a short, slightly muscular man. As the match began, the man charged the Gladiator recklessly. Moving aside to dodge the man's careless blow, he grabbed him and thrust him at the ground and began punching him in the face. Eventually, he felt two arms grip him and pull him off his opponent, triggering him to damage him even more. He won the tournament easily and got a sack of gold. The next day, he brought a loaf of bread, some fruit, and meat. It wasn't much, but he felt like he knew how to die like a king. Through countless fights, he came across some poster in the back room of the dome. It said, "Join the Imperial Legion to preserve the Empire and her interests." Incredibly entranced by this poster, thinking how powerful he could become if he enlisted in the Legion. After a bit of discussion with his parents and other fighters in the ring, he made his decision. He would leave and make his way to Skyrim for the Legion. As he made it to the border, he was captured, as he was a Nord and wore no Imperial colors. After surviving a near-death experience at Helgen, he joined up with the Imperials and began to fight against the Stormcloaks. Once catching wind of the Dark Brotherhood, he looked at a primary interest to wipe them out. On to skills. We want every perk in heavy armor, including every level of Juggernaut. We want every perk in block. You will also want the perks Barbarian, Champion, Stance, Devastating Blow, and Sweep, all of which are in the two-handed skill tree. In one-handed, you will want all levels of Armsman, Fighting Stance, and Savage Strike. Also in smithing, you will need to get steel smithing for his weapons, gauntlets, and shield. You can also get ebony smithing for the armor, or you can just buy it from a shopkeeper. For armor weapons, you will want a Dawnguard helmet, meaning that you will unfortunately need a Dawnguard DLC. Or you can just use a standard issue Imperial helmet, or even an ebony helmet. You will need an ebony chestplate and ebony boots, along with standard steel Imperial gauntlets. You could also use ebony gauntlets if you so desire. For weapons, you will need an Imperial sword, a steel warhammer, and a standard Imperial shield. All of these should be upgraded for maximum damage and armor rating. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this Skyrim build video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. You can also vote on the next build video. The choices are the Fang-Tooth Assassin or the Mad Marksman. As always, I have been the Orange Bandit, and I will see you lovely people in the next video. Goodbye.